All right. Hello to the hundreds of people viewing and watching. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. Welcome to the show. Again, this is a Headcanon, aka Derek, and this is my once a month live stream. Headcanon presents, where I just get to talk to some folks I'm really interested in talking to. Um, and Again, this is not fancy like a bunch of shows. I kind of keep it simple, but tonight, I have my very special guest is the one and the only articulated ninja. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in so we can get started right now. And here he is, Mr. Articulated Ninja himself, the one and only, the never duplicated, always imitated. Uh, Men want to be him. Action figures want to come home with him. Uh,
Oh, you're doing too much now.
so,
You're doing too much. I feel like they won't recognize me. I feel like when I come in, I always have to have this on first. Then they recognize me, and then I take it off, and we'll have a good
it's
talk.
it's a kiss without the makeup on.
Hmm.
It's well that's kind of like it's kind of like how I first got introduced to you. Is your was that you probably talked about before, was that just like the gimmick you landed on, or was that just kind of a leftover from COVID, or because that doesn't look like a very COVID approved mask because I can see through it.
Yeah, it's
You
not.
know,
You
so
would know. Yeah, it's not. It's not COVID approved at all. No, it was just something I picked up for the channel.
yeah. So I my first introduction to you is we were watching it's kind of like I kind of like fell into first I found retro blasting,
Okay.
which leads me to to analog toys,
Hmm.
which then led me to 3POA, and then so I'm watching 3POA, and it was about the time that Hasbro um, decided they really wanted to see how far they could push the fans, and and introduce that. Now, out of all the Ghost Riders you wanted to introduce, it's the
Oh
tier
boy.
3 sea level Robbie Reyes,
Hmm.
and you cut a video, and I guess Ryan had seen it or somebody, and they're like posting, "You got to check this video out." And so I watch this video, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!" It's like this guy's saying everything that everybody's thinking, and it was superb. And so how before that, and that's kind of how I'm not gonna say that's when you blew up because you were. I don't know how big you were for. So how to kind of get started before that point? Or how long have you been doing this thing?
It was a lot of kit bashing. I didn't choose to. I started to be consistent right before all that stuff happened. So I started to be consistent as soon as the GI Joe classified line went 6 inch. I
Okay.
feel like I waited my entire life to get a 6 inch scale military line. At the time, Valor was still brand new, so I couldn't. I didn't. He wasn't on my radar like that.
Okay.
So as soon as Hasbro put out there that there's gonna be a 6 inch classified line, I was like, well, I always had a YouTube channel and I would like do dioramas sometimes. I would just do random stuff here and there, but I would literally post one video every 3 months. Like, and I never took it down. If you scroll all the way back on my channel, you see my channel used to be called Paris Dioramas. But I was
Okay.
literally posting once every 3 or 5 months. So, of course, that's not really going to go anywhere on YouTube. And I wasn't doing it to go anywhere. I was just doing it for the love of it. But the consistency started once the classified line came. So, some of my first few videos of being weekly consistent, it was
Yeah.
all around the military stuff.
Well, yeah, you put a lot of work into your videos. Like even just to do the little stop motion ninja,
Yeah, the
your
little
little
avatar.
avatar
Yeah.
is like, that's a, so I can see why that would be like someone you'd only like, you know, you take a lot of time, because I can think you're probably one of these folks that you're kind of like me where you have this whole visualization in your head,
Hmm.
and but you're able to translate it into actual video and art, whereas it kind of gets stuck in my I don't really have it out, a way to
I
get
have
it
a
out of
lot of
my
stuff
head.
that
So
gets stuck too. Yeah,
yeah,
that's just one of the few areas that I'm actually able to translate, like you said, to show people.
yeah,
But we have so much stuff that just gets stuck up here, and we don't know how
yeah.
to let it out or express it.
Now it kind of freaks me out a little bit when you're like doing all these highly articulated poses with Mafex and figure arts figures, and because for me I know they're expensive,
Hmm.
and I'm afraid I'm always going to break something. So I don't spend the high end money. I'm afraid I'm going to break my Marvel Legends and the classifieds and stuff like that. And and I don't know how to replace. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to get the money to replace it. So
Hmm.
that takes like a lot of confidence in your abilities. But do you ever have anything that's like where you spend a lot of money on a figure and it just kind of blows on you when you're trying
I
to?
don't I don't get them, man, because the Mezcos look beautiful, and I never say anything bad about Mezco.
Yeah,
The accessories look beautiful, everything looks beautiful, but when the average figure is gonna run you 100 or $155, or 150 and more, I should say. It's hard for me to enjoy really expensive figures because growing up on the cheaper figures, we got to play to our heart's content, be as rough as we want it to be.
yeah,
So even if I really want to pose it, when someone else lets me use their Mezco figures, I almost just leave it standing. I never pose it because I'm just so nervous or so scared that I'm gonna break something, or
yeah.
I can't enjoy it because it's that fear and that worry that you're talking about. So I know exactly what you're talking about. So I don't get
Uh,
them. I don't get those
yeah,
figures.
I even used to have that like when I was little too, because it was like if I got a toy, it was kind of
Hmm.
a special thing, and so it was always encouraged not to break it because there was no way to replace it.
Right.
So I had a
Right.
few figures that wound up having to be wounded veterans of wars and stuff like that, and had to come up with some sort of story reason why they were missing
And the
their
arm got
arms
lost.
or the dog some monster chewed up the leg and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
it just kind of carried over into adulthood. I'm still hesitant to, and for a while back in the early 2000s, late 90s, I was into the 1/6 scale figures,
Okay.
and Hasbro had a line, was doing them, and then those other figures called 21st Century Toys.
Hmm.
And then I got into the imports, Blue Box and Dragon models.
Okay.
And so that was like sometimes I spent like up at 80, 90, and over 100, but it was 1/6 scale, so they were meant to be posed,
Hmm.
and all that stuff. So I didn't worry about that too much. But then went through some financial stuff in my life, and I got back to the same thing where I was just afraid of everything. Hey, your support group's here. Good evening, ladies. So
Everybody's just getting home now from work, so everybody's
yeah,
tuning in.
well,
Yeah.
I get a lot of lift on the replay too.
Mm.
So that's where I make my bread and butter. So where was I going with that? So yeah, so it became something. But I've always taken care of my stuff, but I've never been like an inbox to the point where it's like inbox,
Hmm.
whereas you got to leave the box. To me, if it's inbox, it's useless
Okay.
for me. So
No, I feel the same way. I mean, and that's not to like throw any jabs or slights to
oh yeah,
inbox collectors, but I just life is short, like I say all the time. So there's no way I'm gonna say life is short, but I just stare at it through the packaging. No
yeah,
way.
yeah. Mm, excuse me. So like I said, I've been a fan of your content ever since that point, and I try to catch the lives when you can, and
Thank you, man.
follow on Instagram, and things like that, which I really like. So you did a video recently too, going into kind of the price of some things. So you did a video recently on the ramen hunter tank,
Hmm.
and I had been on the fence about the tank just because I'm not a big um, pre-order guy if I've got to wait more than a month or so for
Yeah, I feel the
it,
same
type of
way.
deal,
I feel the
because you
same
always
way.
feel that's like cash that's tied up, and
Hmm.
and, something. So I'd been on the fence, and I was kind of disappointed when he first came out with them, and he showed the tank, and then uh the the Wolverine add-on in the bridge layer,
Yeah.
because I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping that they were. I was like, okay, that's cool. So there's three different versions you could buy, but then when he came out and said you got to buy the base tank, then you
Hmm.
buy the other ones, which is a great idea. But for me, I was kind of like, well, I don't want to spend 100 and it was almost $200 for
Something like that. Yeah,
the
I can't
tank, just
remember.
because I really wanted the Wolverine style, the air defense type of deal. But your video you did, like, first of all, I can't believe he sent out a prototypes like that. So what
Yeah,
was
he's
that like?
confident. He was confident.
Yeah, knowing he's sending it to you,
Hmm.
first of all, and you're not, which I admire him for that, because he knows you weren't going to pull any punches on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so was that kind of did it kind of work that deal out beforehand, or was that just kind of a surprise that I showed up one day and he said,
Well, because the price, especially of anything in the prototype stage, is usually kind of pricey.
yeah,
Um, we got to do like the sign for signature confirmation and all that stuff. So he let me know ahead of time, and I was telling him, I'm like, look, so if it's not one of the bigger companies like Hasbro, yeah, it's raining really bad where I'm
yeah,
at. So if there are any issues, I'll just try
yeah,
to reload back up.
okay,
Um,
yeah,
but he reached out to me ahead of time. And my thing is, if it's not one of the billion-dollar companies like Hasbro or Figure Arts, and
Hmm.
I don't want to cause any of these smaller guys any grief, man. Like I really don't.
Right.
So what I do is if I get it in and I run into an issue or I realize I'm probably gonna have more not nice things to say about this thing, I just won't do the video and I'll send it back.
Right.
So that was the agreement. And I don't want to say it was his confidence, but he was just like, I'm not worried about it. I think you'll really enjoy it. And, because Ace is such a nice guy. And like how you see him comment on a 3POA and stuff, he's that same person in person. Like every interaction I have with him in
Yeah.
person, it always matches up. There's no persona. You know what I'm saying? But it was all pre-scheduled because of it being a bigger package. But in the event that it would have went bad, I just would have sent it back to him. I wouldn't have made a video talking saying anything negative about him.
Well, so what it did for me is it actually prompted me to go on ahead and put a deposit down
Oh, okay.
on one of them. And I know some people are like going, well, it's not the right size. It's not actually a 1/12 scale take. It's like, well, duh.
Right.
You wouldn't be paying 200.
Yo.
You wouldn't be paying $200 for one.
Right. And
And
a good example of that is like, let's say Duarte's most recent dial. It's like if these things were really one like in scale, do you
yeah,
realize we would all have to live in mansions?
yeah. And like I said, I went through that during my 1/6 scale days, trying to get 1/6 scale vehicles. They were never really 1/6 scale.
Hmm.
And then of course, with my head cannon ways, uh, the militaries had light tanks like that in real life. They had one for that the army used to use that could load up in the back of an airplane and be airdropped
Hmm.
into. So I'm like, so it fits in, and it's going to fit fine in my head cannon of that what the economy of the Valveverse universe could produce during that time, is they would have to produce smaller vehicles, smaller tanks because the economy is there. So I'm getting that. I haven't told my wife yet. She's probably here over here me now. but but your discount code I think about covered the shipping
Thank
on
you.
it. So,
Thank you for
so
using it.
that's
But
good.
don't blame me for hearing anything. Don't put
It
that
was
on me and
no,
you'll
it
get in
was you.
trouble.
Yes, I was not. You talked me into it. You ninja shinobi my credit card out of my wallet. There's a puff of smoke, and next thing I know, I'm getting a confirmation email from Ramen Toys, and
Mhm.
this is gonna be my first Ramen Toys product. I really wanted one of the vans too, but I just kind of it's just I've been putting enough on that. And I first saw him when he did the Aces of Aviation,
Mhm.
and I like those things. I wish I would have gotten one to see because there's so I used to when I was in the Marine Corps, I used to work at what's called aviation life support.
Okay.
So basically, ejection seats, parachutes, life preserver, survival kits, and all their gear was
Okay.
my purview. And I was in during that time. It was right after the movie Top Gun came out, which that's what he modeled it on. So all that gear I'm familiar with. So I'm looking at trying to find. I think I found there's like one thing he left off, or one or two things he left off, but I'm not going to pay $75 to find out if I'm right. So but I like I saw a lot of attention to detail for what's supposedly an overseas company. And the thing is, we've had this explosion of companies that have come
Yeah.
up around here. Let's just
Yep.
do a couple of chats here real quick. So because I know he'll cause problems for me,
He will. He calls
he
a
will
problem for everybody.
he'll ban me to the Shadowlands if I don't acknowledge our Lord, our generous overlord Laser Pants.
Don't let him scare you.
Yeah,
He's harmless. He's a big teddy bear.
yeah. So did you get the what new Goku?
Anytime I get an import figure, especially if it's like one of the younger kid animes like My Hero Academia or anything, we'll say anything. Any import
Yeah.
figure to him, it's automatically Dragon Ball Z and it's always Goku.
Oh, okay.
Because
Because
that's
I saw
like
you
the
post
range
something
of
about.
his knowledge. It just
I
stops
saw you
right there.
post something about
Yeah, the
Bakugo.
Bakugo. Yeah, yeah, the Bakugo. So to him, I posted a video about Goku. So it's fine.
Okay, that's what that's. So and then and Duarte says that tank is a sleeper for sure. Yeah, so I love that interior, and that's something that doesn't get done a lot on something that size. Some companies would be, and they did it back in the '60s and '70s with the large 12-inch vehicles, is they would just put a hole in it for the figure to sit,
Hmm.
and you just pretended there was an interior to it. So
Yeah. I mean, Duarte could say it's a sleeper, but then he wakes people up when he puts his touch to it. So even
Yeah.
even if it was a sleeper, he's gonna wake them up when he paints stuff. And I don't know, if you haven't had the luxury to even like purchase something small,
Yeah.
whether it's a trash can. Jojo
Yeah.
Jerk purchased a trash can from him, but his rust and his details are amazing. So he really helped bring the tank to life because, like you said, it was a prototype, so it was completely plain. It was like no
Yeah.
decals, no stickers, no nothing. And I showed it in the beginning of the video like that. So I really liked the quality and the feel and the size, and but it was desperately dry. Let me put it that way. Until Duarte painted it up.
Well, I nearly cried when I saw that Vanguard that he blew up
Oh my
for
god.
the one because it's like, oh my, he tore that thing apart, and
Hmm.
I was just like, that was like my chest got a little tight. See
I
that,
can
but
see
then,
yours
but then,
behind you. It looks so nice, and
yeah.
it's
So yeah,
nice and
well, that's
intact.
I
Look at
wound up
that
with two
too.
of them, and I like the gray because those are my security vehicles. These are the guys
Hmm.
they roll around in that, doing protection and stuff like that. But and I don't get the desert tan because I live in Florida. There's no desert here, so if he ever does it, if you read, I think he needs to do the Vanguard again and do it in like different colors like that, like OD
Yeah,
green and stuff like
yeah.
that,
I
and
hope he
straight up
does.
black.
Right. Everybody would like a just a straight up blacked out one.
But I'm going to get one that's going. There's one of them that's going to get the the armored windows and the cow catcher
Hmm.
and all that too. So,
Yeah.
but up until then, this that was probably the most expensive 112 scale thing I bought.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, since this, and I wound up buying two because he did that great deal on the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
one. And the Vanguard was one that I pre-ordered and waited months for, and that was something that I don't ever do, but that's because I'm accustomed to the quality and plus the I like doing business with the company.
Right.
They've
And
always
and they
done,
have Valaverse has one of the shortest turnaround times.
yeah,
Where a lot of companies, like you said, you are waiting a year or more, or his turnaround times. Like he shows something, and then like 3 months later, all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, it's gonna be at a show with me." I'm like, "How?"
yeah. Well, I like too that if there's ever a problem, the rare occasions I've had a problem, I've
Hmm.
gotten a replacement of the thing that had the problem, and not just something of equal value because he sees his product as the product, and I bought a certain product. I didn't just buy a price point. Whereas like Hasbro will send you whatever in the bag by the QC
They
that
might
by
send
the
you some patches.
customer service desk. That's pull that out of the $30 box, and
Hmm.
I have a son that's really into Transformers, and he's had to deal with their customer service, and they never send him the thing that he had the problem with, that he
Hmm.
spent his money and his time wanting that thing. They always send him like something that's an equivalent value, and it's like I had to explain to him that's just the way they think.
Right.
So uh, it's not top
Hey,
doing
Ramon in the
wow.
building.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of good folks here, and I appreciate everybody being on. Just make sure you read my scroll, hit that like button. I'm still on the road to 500. I was at 135, 134 this morning at 100. I'm going to do a giveaway of the. I've got an unopened, still in box Fortnite boat, uh,
I think it's pretty
which
big.
which yeah, which is great for customization. And plus, now that we got those maritime troopers out, finally got a decent set of drivers for for the for the boat as well. So share this around, pass it around. And speaking of companies, so I was thinking the other day, and I don't know if you see this too. So for the past few years, we've had all these new companies popping up,
Hmm.
and they've been trying to produce every single license from the '80s and '90s. And it seems like some companies are just springing forward just to do the one property
Hmm.
for a while, and it's kind of like there's a reason why some of these properties didn't succeed as toys before,
Right. Right.
but now it seems like since the beginning of this year,
Hmm.
we're seeing more companies pop up, but they're all doing the same five properties. Like, how many companies do we have now doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
I knew you was gonna lead with
Matt,
that. I knew you was gonna say Ninja Turtle first. It's
Masters
too
of the
many.
Universe,
Right.
Marvel, DC, and Ghostbusters? See, those are like the ones that there's like 10 companies doing 10 different companies for each one of those properties doing it. So, so is it just me that seems like that, or is that just something that's kind of
No, that's why I said I knew you was gonna lead with Ninja Turtles, but if it's not one of the, I would say Ninja Turtles, that IP in general is a very powerful IP,
yeah.
but there's a lot of them that you mentioned that they're not that powerful, and they probably were not successful for a reason the first time around. And maybe it's
Yeah.
because of the success of Ninja Turtles and just some of the more powerful ones like He-Man and stuff that makes people believe that they should be brought back. But chances are they probably should not. But I see what you see. I see exactly what you're talking about.
Well, it's like I mean, now McFarlane's going to do Turtles,
Hmm.
and then the what was the show this past weekend? The that everybody was at the toy show this past weekend that everybody was at.
Yeah, the Newberg toy
Yeah,
show we
wasn't
went
like
to.
folks showing off like new some other company doing Masters of the Universe and another one
I
doing
think so.
Ghostbusters or something like that.
Oh no, no, no! You're talking about the Toy Lanta show. That was the big
Oh, okay.
show. Yeah, so there was yeah. I seen there was some people showing off He-Man, and it's always something.
It's like I get that it's a popularity, but it's like again, and I get it. There's some people that are going to collect everyone. They want the NECA turtle. They want the
Hmm.
Super Seven. They want the Playmates. They want the
But I don't
McFarlane.
think there's enough for, like you said, there's some people that will do everything, but it's like, is that really enough to sustain an actual
Yeah,
profitable business? I don't know. That's
yeah.
tough.
It just seems to me like I think for me it feels like we're probably primed for something new, some
Hmm.
sort of new property to
Hmm.
hit. To hit, and it's just and it's just something. It's just kind of a weird. To me, it's just kind of a weird time. Like I said, we went through too many, and I know the internet and manufacturing. Like I had a friend of mine, I had an idea to for an add-on to some Star Wars stuff I had,
Okay.
and the only thing I could think of is have a buddy of mine who does 3D printing if he could print this stuff out for me, and
Hmm.
he did. So within a couple of days, I had what I wanted in hand with that. And we were talking about how 3D printing has advanced from when it was a few years ago, where you had to have these big industrial printers, and it was a tub of plastic pellets,
Right.
and it literally printed. You would like dig in and pull out the printed thing, and then after like several days of printing, just for a wrench, now it's in. It took like 2 days to print out 20 missiles for me to hang from a Tie Fighter. You know, it just and everybody thinks that. So I guess like everybody thinks they can now do this now, and it's um
Hmm.
and I just think there's just too few. I think it's something new's got to come in people. I don't know if it's just people don't want to embrace the new thing,
Hmm.
or if it's just that or if it's that companies think they just want a guaranteed hit out of the door out the door type of deal, and they think, well, if
Yeah.
I just do another He-Man,
It's
then
safe.
then that's safe. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I see what you're talking about. I wish there was more new stuff. I think that's why Valor got a lot of credit with trying to like reinvent Action Force. So
yeah,
I wish more companies took that approach. I didn't mind when Classified was trying to do more modern. Of course, I didn't like the futuristic Nerf guns that the
yeah,
figures came with, but I still thought it was cool the way the figures look, make them more modern, bring out new characters. But I agree with you. I do think that we need more, just new IPs in general, more. And I think lately it's been Invincible. There's a series on Amazon called
yep,
Invincible, and oh my god, I love the series. I love all the characters in the verse. Like we need more things like that.
yeah. Well, I know we've been watching my boys, kind of turn me on to that, and
Hmm.
yeah. So when I was in the '90s, I was stationed in Japan for about a year, and I'm walking by one of my buddies' rooms. He's watching this show on TV. He picked up one of the local channels,
Okay.
and I go in and I'm like, "What is this craziness going on?" And
Hmm.
he starts explaining to me it was Dragon Ball Z, and it was right during the time where Goku Goku Gohan
Hmm.
was in high school. And he was trying to pretend not to be. He was, like had a
Okay.
costume
Okay.
and all this.
Yeah, I
So
know where you're
and
at.
they're doing
Yep.
all this crazy stuff. So it's kind of like in the middle of the series. He started
Hmm.
explaining to me, well, it came out. This is it, but it's a spinoff of this other series I ran for a while, and it was just crazy. And then you go out in town and the stores are filled with Gunpla and Gundam, and so I got deep into that stuff. So when I came home, and then about a year later after I came home, then all this stuff started coming to the United States, and then and so we're able to get stuff Goku Goku is the dad, Gohan is the son, and Goten is the other son. So,
Look, you know more than him. Don't let him correct you.
yeah,
I don't even think he knows Goten exists. So you already,
yes.
yeah. Don't take corrections from him.
So, so then, as I grow up, I grow up more. I kind of fall out because I'm doing stuff. And then, now I've got kids. I've got four boys.
Mhm.
Uh, from their
Damn, you have a
early,
little army over there.
yeah,
4 boys.
yeah. I got one that's like 22, 21, 19, and 12. And so I kind of started showing them as they got older. Some appropriate stuff. Because we can now get DVDs and a lot of VHS and stuff. I said, well, I saw this and all this stuff, and then and they got me hooked on My Hero Academia
Mhm.
because it's something that we've been missing for a while in American media, true stories of heroics and people struggling. The characters. Now we got all these instant success characters, and they're and so you got these guys making mistakes and are going through hardships, and people die, and tragedy strikes, and they work through it. So it's almost
Mhm.
like real life. And so and so I was like, man, this is something that I can see why something like that is catched on here, because it is new. And then Invincible comes along too, and it's kind of breaking that mold,
Yeah.
as well of everything. But then I've started doing I've got a son who's a big Transformers fan, and I'm a big G.I. Joe fan. And then we started getting the comics in the Energon universe that Skybound did, the same guy that runs Invincible.
Okay.
And it was really good because it was first they got people on the books that love the properties. And they don't but they had to make changes to the story to make it all fit into one universe together. So
Mhm.
instead of telling the same origin story, it's different, but they made changes that made sense to update and modernize it, and just didn't crap all over what came before, which
Right.
seems to be the norm of things nowadays. Where because we want to appeal to a new audience, we're just going to everything before we're just going to ignore it or make fun of it or hand wave it away. But they didn't do that with this stuff, and I think that's kind of it's the same thing like with Bobby approaching Valve Action Force. Is
Mhm.
he had these little things? It's like so reimage of what would it be like if today under these circumstances it happens. Uh, but it's a refresh. I think we're in sore need of the refresh.
Yeah, like I said, I just wish more companies would do that. And then some of the older stuff, everybody loves Jada Toys. Hey, Figure Fight Club in
Yep.
the building. What's going on? Everybody loves Jada Toys and what they're doing with Street
Mhm.
Fighter, but if these companies have already proven that they can make good stuff, if we had those companies create a new IP, I think it'd be really good. That's why
Yeah.
I don't hate on what I see Big Bad Toy Store doing with what's that line? Is it Monsters?
Monster Force.
Operation Monster Force
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I'm like, that stuff is cool, man. I'd rather see that than another He-Man or like you mentioned.
Yeah. I know that's when I saw that. Like I need another line to collect. Like I need another hole in my head. But probably I would. I think I want to get that Lieutenant Griffin, the Invisible Man,
He
because I
looks
kind of
cool.
like the
Yeah,
idea of that concept.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
Doesn't he have a translucent part like a head sculpt or something like that?
and the head and the hands are translucent,
Hmm.
and then you can swap out with gloved hands and the head wrapped in bandages like the original man, the Invisible Man from the movie.
Hmm.
And I guess that's how much people. I think for Toy Lane they had like a translucent one all the way. Figured that was like a special that came out there. So
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that. Translucent or glow in the dark.
yeah, I finally got an Elite Praetorian the other day that in that flash sale where I couldn't
Hmm.
get a Steel Brigade figure, but every time I went to my card it was it was empty. But I did get an Elite Praetorian before they all sold out as well because they had the
That's a
translucent
nice one.
parts. And then stuff like that, not being afraid to do things like that as well. And plus, you're just being honest with the customers.
Hmm.
Is a big deal. I know that's something that you touch on too in a lot of your videos. Is about the is it is the dishonesty these companies do, or the gaslighting.
Unfortunately, yeah.
They try to do, and it's almost like for you, it feels like you talk about like it's like a personal insult to you. When they're when they're just flat out lying.
Because it's just not necessary, man. It's like if you make a good product, people are gonna buy it. You don't have to sit there and say new tooling 27 times while you're presenting a product. Like it should
Yeah.
be new tooling.
Yeah. The like I used to quote Walt Disney. Uh, one time he said you do something so well that people want to come see it again and bring a friend. So that was
Yeah,
like
that's
his
a good
push. Like
one.
everything has to be done with the highest amount of quality,
Hmm.
as well. And that's uh, and and I used to do quality assurance in a manufacturing environment, and I've done it
Okay.
in different environments, stuff like that. So I know about how like when you're making thousands of something, you're not going to QC every single one.
Right.
You do what's called a sampling, and then you find it, and then there's this there. Then each company knows that they have an acceptable limit of mistakes that
Right.
will get out the door. But then uh, and so I kind of if I get something that's kind of not right, then it's okay. But when I see the same problem over multiples, then I
Hmm.
know that's an issue. You know, like with the classifieds, they had this thing. It wasn't with their the right arm not being connected. You had that bicep cut
Yeah.
would keep popping off, and I I made a comment about that like on Facebook, and the Hasbro's came out. It was like, what? And I was like, I said, well, I saw it in my Crimson Guardsman
Hmm.
figure, and now I'm seeing it in the CoverGirl figure, and now I'm seeing it. So it's not just like it was a bad batch of the run on Crimson Guardsman. So to me, my QC brain goes, this is a systemic issue that they're not addressing. So
Yeah, but like you said, it's just I feel like a lot of people, when they're attached to an IP, they don't separate their own identity. Laser Pants has spoken about this too. They don't
yeah,
separate their own identity from that of whatever the IP or the product is. So if you say anything other than positive stuff, they feel personally attacked. So then they'll personally attack you for having an issue with something that, in all reality, has nothing to do with them.
yeah, it's the same guys that that they want to own a Ferrari, so they buy the Ferrari jackets and the the hats and the gloves and
Right.
they're big fans of the brand, but not the but they're not actually guys spending a lot spending the money on it where they can or you do it because you feel like you have to justify the money they robbed from you.
Right. Right.
You
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
where they have to justify their purchase.
Yeah,
That's all. Like, and we seen that with the Maximum Spider-Man. Where it's like, dude, if you want to buy the Spider-Man and spend almost $60 on a Marvel Legends, just one of them, that's fine. Enjoy the figure, but you could get something and still say, hey man, I like the figure or I like the product. I just hate the way the company did X or Z or Y.
yeah.
You don't have to like everything about it. It's okay. Like,
Well, and then they'll do something like I did the review of the Leatherneck figure that
mm-hmm,
they did, which again that was like the gung ho, like the first gung ho, and they did for classifieds was horrible.
right.
It was trash. Then the second, the retro card one was that was except for the Marine Corps emblem, which they can't do that. And I
Mm-hmm,
know then and it's just because the Marine Corps trademarked it, so they don't let people use the emblem. So it's like that's fine, but everything else was great, which tells me you guys can do great figures when you want to. And then the Leatherneck came out, and
mm-hmm.
it was a master. Overall, it was perfect for what a Recon Marine in the '80s wore. It looked like,
Okay.
and then it was like they couldn't stop there. They just had to do little details, like the patches were all wrong. The rank insignias didn't. They put rank insignias in the wrong spots and didn't match them.
Mm-hmm.
They had they had them at two different ranks, and they put a patch where they never had a patch for something before. And it's like
Right.
you guys just can't help yourselves. Just like you get it right, and it's like you got to touch it again and add the one thing, and that's what disappoints us because we know you can do good, and then you'll put out a figure that's complete falling apart and trash. It's like can you only are you only allowed to do so many good figures at a time, and everything else has
That's
to
what it seems like. That's a good way to say you're only allowed to do a certain amount of good ones
yeah.
at a time.
So
Yeah.
so what is this? So JMac Nikolai Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of sound frequency and vibration. Yeah, but wasn't he also married to a pigeon? Was that the thing or
Look,
something? Yeah,
look, look. I feel like a lot of so if to be considered a genius or to be able to consider, being up there, you're gonna have some off things about you. You're
oh
going to,
yeah,
because you're gonna be ostracized by society. You're not gonna be understood by everyone, and everyone's not supposed to understand you because everyone is the majority.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, Vincent Van Gogh and cutting his ear off, and there's always going to be
Yeah.
something weird about some of these guys. I get
Yeah.
it.
I was like, because Tesla gets a lot. I mean, Tesla was done dirty in his
Hmm.
lifetime too.
Of course.
So yeah. So so something I kind of want to do is you see me in the chat sometime, and I kind of get
Hmm.
I'm kind of the trivia guy that
Okay.
I pull out these things. People, these weird obscure facts, and I just stuff like this because I'm 52 years old. I came from the generation where every test you took in school is basically you had to memorize all the information.
Hmm.
That's how you passed, and we didn't have the internet. I only had 3 TV channels, and so you had to carry all the knowledge with you in your head.
Hmm.
Um, so, so that's why too with Hasbro and Marvel, um, I there's a lot of great ideas out there that I don't know why they don't tap into them, especially in this market. And one of them was, did you know that within the Marvel 616 universe exists professional wrestling?
Really?
Yeah, it's called the Unlimited Class Wrestling Federation, and
Okay.
basically it's a wrestling where people with superpowers can have matches.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
So it was like introduced in, like, I think when the Thing went solo, he was
Okay.
part of that in there. So when now with, like, because all I see on the shows now is you see Transformers takes up about a third of the spot. It's on the shelf of Walmart. And then the Legends have shrunk to 1 to 2 pegs. McFarlane is trying to take the pegs back, but now he's shrinking.
Right.
But then usually one whole side of the aisle is wrestling figures.
Right.
So I think this is an untapped market. So do you think, using your imagination right now, you and I could both come up with what we would like to see in a wave of Marvel Unlimited class wrestling figures?
You
Who would
know,
you pick
out of all the things
to
to
be in
pick, the
this
fact
wave?
that you pick wrestling, you tried to make this difficult. That's
Yeah,
what you did. Yeah. So many other. So I would pick. You said it has to be in the Marvel universe, right?
right. Yeah, the 616 comic universe.
Hmm. I think it would be cool. See, nah, it's not fair, man. Some people are too overpowered. Like Nightcrawler, he's too overpowered. Like there's some people. I'm trying to think of like a mid or like a C or a D tier character
Yeah,
that won't just be able to use their powers and win every single match. Um, you know what? This is gonna sound funny, but you know how I feel
yeah,
about curvy girls and thickies and stuff.
yeah.
So I think Squirrel Girl would fit right in,
Okay.
and I would love to see her have other little squirrels with her in wrestling outfits as well.
Like
I
have
would
like
just like that.
did you like have like the manager in the corner with the
Yes,
with
right,
the
right.
bucket
And to
with
have
the
little
towel and the
squirrels, right. When she sits down in the corner, like three little squirrels bring a water bucket, another one's on her head. Like just to see her communicating with these luchadori like little squirrels would be
oh
hilarious.
yeah. So, and the good thing is, like, they had both villains and heroes that were in it, and then of course they would always put like Thing was the headliner, and then they always make up characters and stuff like that. Then eventually, so I would do I would do, like, first I would have like my the pack they're going to charge $50 for, the big singular figures,
Hmm.
and I would imagine these, in not in their day-to-day costumes, but in some sort of wrestling outfit, to make it really special
Right.
with it. Of course, I would do the Thing. That would have to be in there as a callback, in a wrestling singlet, and the Juggernaut.
Hmm.
That would, to me, that would make a good, $50 each on them, and that would make a good, to me, that would be a good matchup for
Okay.
um, and then yeah, the what's that?
That was clever. I like that one. Normally his shit is boring, but that one was actually really good.
Yeah. I like the Squirrel Girl thing because I think, because back then, I mean, they had a few women in it,
Hmm.
but that's become a dominant part of wrestling right now. So it really opens up to a lot of um good characters. So, oh, here, let me see what we'll go to Chad. Chad seems to be in on this. Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and maybe Daredevil. Yeah, I would have Daredevil come out in his boxing gear. Like every once in a while, a boxer will go in there and try
Yeah,
to throw
that's cool.
down.
Yeah, that's
That
cool.
I think that'd be cool. Just give him like a little mask, and you wouldn't even have to show up as Daredevil, but everybody would know it would like it'd be battling Murdoch or something like that. That'd be cool.
Shout out to John, man. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Chad, welcome. Yeah, did you see his triumphant return to YouTube today?
Chad's.
Chad's, yeah,
I
Re-
saw. I need to finish watching. He uploaded a nice extensive video, so I need to finish
yeah.
watching that. But no, I caught him when he was over with Zakanan, and I was talking about how
Okay.
cute him and Zakanan look together.
Well, it was a great. It was on. Basically, he tells us he step by step tells us how to be a shill.
Okay,
So,
that's what I need to finish watching because I started it.
I mean, I'm sold. I think I'm going to start trying to be a shill. Uh, and stop being a sucker to and buying my own stuff.
I mean, if there's
Yeah,
anybody that would know, it would be him.
yeah,
He would have the step by step directions.
yeah. When Chad came back, I showed it to you. Just a cold cut back. Um. So yeah, so sorry to throw it out. Like I said, I just wanted to think about it because I think you probably got some figures you could modify
Hmm.
in there or open it up to other cross or maybe that's what some hobby could do with this figure fight club is actually go back and do some wrestling team ups, maybe have some street fighters versus Ninja Turtles or
Right.
Power Rangers versus Marvel or something like that.
Hmm.
But there's so much to explore. That's the thing is that there's you know they basically turn a lot of these things into IP farms. Like Marvel's just an IP farm.
Hmm.
DC, the comics is now just an IP farm, and I will give McFarlane credit. I collect some McFarlane figures,
Hmm.
but he's going deep into the cuts, which I like that. Like
How
the
many times? How many times can McFarlane say new tooling? A
yeah,
lot.
well,
He can
yeah,
say it a
new
lot,
tool, but
man.
but I don't see the new tooling though. But but I do like that he goes into like some obscure characters.
Hmm.
uh, which surprised I know about. Like he's got the a dark star coming out from the time when there was no more Green Lanterns. These were the Green Lantern replacements,
Okay.
which nobody heard from them in years, and so and then all the bat. Yeah, he loves Batman. I think that was his. I know
He makes that
he
obvious that he loves
he
Batman.
I know he did Batman Year One, and he kind of started over there, did a few things, but
Hmm.
um, you know enough with the Batman, but he does give us some great characters, some C list and D list characters
Yeah.
uh, that are obscure and it's great, and that's kind of where I like the obscure characters, not so much the mainline characters.
When it comes to McFarlane, I'm actually happy, and I felt there was this pressure off of my shoulders once I realized how tall his figures actually were, because I would have been in a world of financial trouble if it would have scaled
Yeah,
well with Legends and Valorverse, and so I actually like that his figures are a bit overscaled compared to regular 6 inch.
yeah,
It saves me money.
yeah. Well, I'm very picky, of what I buy because especially I'm a team builder when it comes to figures, which is another reason why Hasbro ticks me off a lot of times, is because it takes 5 years to build a team
Hmm.
when they put them out. But like right now, I'm trying to build a Justice League International team, and so I'm looking for the Guy Gardner figures now.
Okay.
But he did
Are
a
you
good.
only doing McFarlane, or will you go back to like DC
No,
Direct, DC Collectibles?
no, I don't. I was doing the DC classics
Okay.
when they first came out and stuff like
Okay.
that,
Yeah, the DCUC. Okay.
and then when they went to the whatever it was beforehand, I never really because I was really deep into Legends because they were putting out a lot of good Legends figures. That for me that were good, and
Yeah.
then
Before the
The McFarlane's
DCUC.
made it. Yeah, and the McFarlane figures made it easy for me to be very selective of
Mm,
like I'm a big fan of Booster Gold.
okay.
His story kind of I love his story. It's a joke character that redeemed himself and then had to all he wanted was celebrity. Then basically he did his best work when nobody knew he was doing it.
Right.
Type of deal. But then another one he did is he did a great Thomas Wayne Batman figure.
Which one was
from
that?
uh, it was um, it was from the Flashpoint story.
Okay, okay, yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I
Yeah,
think,
so that's the one
yeah.
where Bruce Wayne was killed
Mm-hmm.
instead of him and Martha, and so Thomas became Batman, and he was a very brutal Batman. He still had the he would actually used guns, and this is before I stopped putting guns in the figure. So actually had his pistols, and
Right.
Martha Wayne became the Joker, and that was actually a good story because that kind of I began to realize that Batman, the concept of Batman, really is a child's fantasy if you think about it. Not their parents getting killed, but
Right.
that
That's
if I was a millionaire and I had no parents and could
right.
do whatever I wanted to do, that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
the freedom. But then uh, as I'm older and I'm a father, and I you spend a lot of time protecting your kids and keeping them out of danger in life. That if
Yep.
something like that had happened, knowing my temperament, my wife's temperament, I could easily see something like that happening. Where what lengths would I go to avenge them, and then so it's kind of as I would love to see and then keep chasing Batman on TV and in movies. Is like that's something where it's the core concept is there. It's just slightly different and fresh. I would
Mm-hmm.
watch a series based on just the Thomas Wayne Batman, and then and if you make Martha Wayne the Joker, that whole
Yeah, that could be its own thing. But I think fan wise, as far as the way it was recepted by fans, that Flashpoint when they make the animated films,
yeah,
that was easily one of the best animated films I've ever seen in my life.
yeah,
And I think it was one of the first animated films that my wife sat down and watched with me. While this was early on when she was still in college, and that was one of the first films where she was like, "Holy shit!" Like that was actually better than live action films that are in the movies. It
yeah.
was everything about it. The fact that Wonder Woman was at war with Arthur, and like there was just so many great things about it. But that whole Flashpoint series was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, when after the comics and they reset it, and they tried to bring that Batman over into the main universe, but they had to make
Hmm.
him a villain for some
Okay.
reason because they just can't. People they just can't stop fiddling with things that are it's like messing with perfection, and
Hmm.
that's always kind of been a you know things as I move through phases of my life. Um, you know. There's still some things I like, and there's things I think it's got to by necessity needs to change a little bit, and but it's got to be done in an intelligent way. And that was for me done very intelligently with that. And again, it was and the whole storyline starts with Flash deciding, listen, why can't I you know correct the event that or I lost my mom, and
Right.
that completely
Right.
changed my life and stuff like that. So is there any so do you ever do you collect comics at all, or you just it's just the figures
I don't have the
and stuff
time
like
for
that?
comics. Yeah. I When I was younger, because I used to draw a lot, so I used to
Oh yeah,
love, even if I wasn't interested in the story in the comic, I was appreciating the artwork. So I used to do that a lot. I had white boxes full of comics just because I liked the artwork or the artist or the story. And growing up watching Xena on TV, the second I realized there was actually Xena comic books, I
yeah.
went crazy. Like, so there was so many times I was buying comic books mainly for art, not to actually read them or anything like that. I would frame them and put them up on a wall because I like the cover so much.
Oh, okay. So, you ever read Heavy Metal growing up? Did you
Mm-mm,
ever see that
no.
book, the magazine?
Mm-mm.
That'd been one that would been you would have liked that because a lot of well drawn, a lot of good art. A lot of artists started in that real big, and even I think Kevin Eastman had bought it. It was one of
Okay.
his first big purchases because it's a French magazine. They weren't. Sorry, it was Frank, a lot of Frank Frazetta art, and uh, gosh, what's he? It's Frank Frazetta, Boris Fahalio,
Okay.
that kind of style of art.
Yeah,
You know,
I have a lot of Frank Frazetta. His museum is only like 10-15 minutes from my house.
oh
So we
really?
used to go there. Yeah, we used to go there a lot, and they have like a part that's mainly like a store, especially around Halloween time. It looks really nice, and they set it up really nice. And but I used to buy his artwork directly from them, and I used to bring it home and frame it and put it up on walls. But he used to do some very curvy women. So
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
in the '70s, there was a band, and they started here in Jacksonville called Molly Hatchet, and
Hmm.
he did like all the covers of their albums. So like Death Dior was like an album cover for Molly yeah, Hatchet. So you saw a lot of his artwork around town
Right.
on the sides of people's vans and stuff,
Hmm.
stuff like that. The so uh, so so now, like I said, um so did you have any like main influences? I know you said the comment for the art, but as you moved into more 3D art, you have the
So like
figures.
when it comes to like videography and stuff like that,
Yeah,
um, just how moved I would be when I would go to movie theaters. Like I was the type of person, whether I would cut class or, and maybe that's why me and my wife and we connected so much, and then Jasmine came around and we connected with her because we all do really appreciate visual art. And
hmm,
visual art for me always moved me since I was a kid. So I think when I saw the first Batman Beyond intro and it was like club music and it was like flashing lights,
yeah,
one, there was no, back then there was no like warnings for like if you have any conditions that you might seize up, right? So when I was watching as a kid and like all these colors are flashing and the song was so good and it was just there was just so many things that visually, art visually, or videography, or the way something was directed, it's always been very, very moving to me. So my goal when I was doing the action figure reviews, and it was like, man, I want to make this little piece of plastic make me feel something. And there's tons of times where I would watch something on playback, or me and the ladies will watch something on playback, and they would get teary, or I would get teary, and I'm like, I succeeded.
yeah.
Like my shit makes me cry. I succeeded. I'm sorry if I can't say shit. I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
So if it makes me cry or it gets me emotional, I do feel like I succeeded to a certain extent because I was able to feel something from what was on the screen.
Yeah. Well, that's I always like watching movies, and there's like a lot of movies that do that. And a lot of even no matter how many times I see it, like I'll scroll through YouTube, and somebody will put the scene, certain scene from a movie up on
Right.
YouTube, and I'll watch it, and I'll just hold back the tears, try not to cry. As yeah, then of course then Pixar kind of mastered the emotional um manipulation part for that. But
Hmm.
but where did the leap happen between you're watching movies, you're watching media in this movie to where you go, I want to attempt to do that?
So it was at a point where work was really slowing down for me, and at the time, it's not like Erica was ever making any substantial amount of money, but the money that she was making, a little bit of side money she did have, she would buy me action figures. And some of them sometimes, especially like you said, the imports and stuff like that, they get pretty pricey. So it really started to make me wonder or make me think when it got to the point where there was like financial hard times, and I always loved the NECA Predators, but I posted up a lot on eBay, which looking back at it now, I was a fool to do. But I posted up a
Yeah.
lot on eBay of like 30, 40 predators. And I had the dogs. I had a lot of the ones that are like $200-$300 now, just
Okay.
individually by themselves. And the entire lot only went for like maybe $200. So, but it was someone got a beautiful collection. But at the time I
Yeah.
needed the money, bills needed to be paid, things like that. So she that holiday, she saved the listing and she went back and tried to get me every single one that I sold in that lot. So what is Chad saying?
He's just here for your pretty face. That's why I brought him on, Chad. I learned from my very first video, my very first live stream, that's not just have to have a very interest, but you have to have the face to go along with it. So
I appreciate that, Chad.
he was my first guest
Right,
on
Chad's
there.
he's lucky. His wife has a really pretty face too. So now he has two pretty faces to look at. I'm assuming he's
Yeah,
out with her.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
that's what I tell everybody. I tell everybody all the time was I did marry above my station,
look at
you
that.
know,
You got to have
and
awareness to know that
and
too.
and and I remind her of that, and I tell her not to make me do it again. I already proved I could do it once. Yeah,
That's good.
so
That's a
it's
good way to word it.
it's kind of I already proved I could do it. don't make me
Mm-hmm.
do it again. So it's
That's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
But yeah, to answer your question, it was just uh, the money that she spent on some of these action figures for me in the beginning stages of our relationship. It did make me say to myself, man, she's spending a lot of money. I notice I do spend a certain amount of money, and at the time we didn't have it, so I really stopped collecting for a while and stuff. But the fact that she would still pick up something for me here or there made me say to myself, what if I could take what she's picking me up and I could try to capitalize on it, or I could try to build something with that, whether it's a platform, whether it's a brand, whether, but I just felt guilty the fact that she was spending money, and these things I always feel like my hobbies or these things that I do in my downtime, they should be
yeah,
productive to me in some type of way, shape, or form. So I just wanted to take the money, her hard-earned money, and I wanted to build something with that. And that's what motivated me to say, you know what? Let me try to put this on camera. Let me try to make this cinematic, and let's see if anybody be interested in it.
yeah. Well, I know, for for me, it's on my when we were when we first met and were dating. She knew I collected action figures because they were, I was in my late 20s, and it was me and a buddy living in an apartment, so it was all in my
Mm-hmm.
room, all over the living room, and stuff like that. So I kind of went in there, and then over the years, I kind of collected, and some, kind of got a little control over the years because I don't throw anything away. This is back
Right.
before it was easy, even with eBay, it was easy to sell stuff off. So then, then during the financial downturn in 2010, 8
Mm-hmm.
and 10, we lost our house that we were living in for foreclosure. Um, we had to pack up a pod, and there were some things I kept, but everything else just wound up staying left behind for the people that bought our house in the foreclosure to have to deal
Okay.
with. And then over the years, as we're rebuilding back, I wind up selling a lot of my stuff, and it was one of the situations like, the car breaks down, so is my collection of GI Joe, 3 3/4 inch figure, going to
Mm-hmm.
get me to work,
Mm-hmm.
or
Right.
is it?
You got to make the
And
tough
so,
calls, man.
so,
You got to
so
make
she
the
watched
tough
me sell
calls.
that stuff off, and then and then the same thing happened with my Star Wars stuff. And then but since the things have gotten better, and so I started building, and now I have a space in our house for. I mean, it's still a mess, but it's getting there,
Mm-hmm.
for the
We
stuff.
all have
and
messes. We all
and
have
but
messes.
but it's also it's a hobby, and it's my stress relief. And I think we've talked about this before, during one of your after shows, and that's you know men used to have hobbies
Mm-hmm.
that weren't considered grown up stuff. You know they had train sets in their basement. Some you guys probably know
Right.
that were
Right.
grandpa's train that you weren't allowed to
Right.
touch it.
N
All these
scale,
wonderful
HO scale. Yeah.
these
Yeah.
wonderful toys that you were not allowed to touch as a
Mm-hmm.
kid. My grandma had a knickknack shelf, and basically it was just a shelf with all these little, glass trinkets and ceramic and
Right.
figurines and stuff
Type
like
of
that.
precious
And
moments dolls and stuff. Yeah.
and then they're like yelling at me because I'm, playing with a GI Joe. You know, it's like because that's not there. And we also used to, as men in particular, they used to have clubs that guys would get together and run slot cars and talk
Mm-hmm.
trains and share the hobby. And that just kind of fell away for a long time, and it kind of got stigmatized. And to me, I don't drink, so I don't drink and smoke, and so I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of vices. So this is my vice, and it keeps me sane at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And I like finding a community. Is I was very lucky to stumble into one online here that people kind of had that same value set when it came to this hobby, um, as well. So I think it's important, because like I said, there's you you have real people to connect with
Yeah.
when you're dealing with your hobbies. Otherwise, you're
Mm-hmm.
just some weirdo in your back room, making your dolls kiss each other.
Right. And
So
you could be stuck in your own echo chamber and not even know. And that's why it's good to have it doesn't I'm not saying guys should have, 50 friends. That's not what I'm saying at all. And if anything, I think it's quite the opposite. I think if a guy to me, if he says he has, 10 best friends, that's kind of weird to me because it's
yeah,
like how can you vouch for 10 of these guys, Life happens. You guys might take breaks, stop talking. It doesn't need to be anything negative, but it's like for me to vouch for 10 different guys or for 10, I'm like, that's a lot, man. It takes, for me personally, if I'm going to vouch for someone's character, it just takes a certain amount of time for me to build up that security to
Oh
do
yeah,
so. So I just think guys, I always say all the time, you have two hands, but if you're lucky enough to have two to three male friends that you can actually count on, that you can trust, that if maybe you're not in the right state of mind mentally, they will let you know, hey
yeah,
bro, you need to calm down. Like if you even have two guys like that, one in today's
yeah,
day and age, you're extremely lucky because it's very hard.
yeah. I can probably throughout my life, I probably had at the most, I've had three people I consider my best friend.
Right. See,
And
that's
over
always
time, those
a
two of them
handful.
have moved away to different, and we don't talk as much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really consider I only have really one that's my best friend that I could call at any time in the morning and say, hey, this is happening. Can you help me out?
Whose car we're gonna
and
drive?
that,
That's
and
what they
that
say,
he'll,
right? That's the
yeah,
response. Whose car we're
yeah,
gonna drive?
and we're on the same way too. It's like if I was out of town and something happened to one of my kids, I could call them
Mm-hmm.
and say, hey, can you drive over there and handle it,
Mm-hmm.
for me, type of
Right.
deal. But that's because my dad told me a long time ago that uh, trust is the currency of relationship, and
Right.
it takes time to build that trust
Mm-hmm.
up, and so then so you got to be very careful when you spend the trust too. That's how. And there's actually a scientific number that they figured out. There's only a certain number of people that people could have and actually consider them a friend, not a
Right.
best friend, but it goes out to a certain number. Then past
Right.
that, you really don't have
Yeah, I
any
agree with that.
what you would consider friends outside. I can't remember what that number is
Mm-hmm.
right now, but then it's like all. Also, too, back when I did political advocacy, we had this rule called the 5 10 20
Okay.
rule, and it's like if you were trying to influence, like say, a city councilman,
Okay.
and you could find the five people that's the closest to him that he trusts that will take advice from him. That's what you wanted to find, and then you started by finding the 10 people that are outside that circle that connect to that five, and then the 20 people outside that to work to network to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because it's the end of the day, it's like they're not, so you just have one of the 20. The 20 could talk to the guy directly, but he doesn't value their opinion as much as he does that five that's in that circle around him.
Right.
It is just because it's that trust factor. And I think men tend to try to go alone because this is America. We're built on rugged individualism.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah,
what do they say? They say, it's easier to divide and conquer, and divided we fall.
yeah,
So, with that being said, I feel like not to put on like my tinfoil hat or nothing. I don't
yeah,
want to bring that to your channel, but it is easier for certain powers to stay in power when men have no support system,
yeah,
when men cannot rely on each other. It's 100% easier for them to maintain in power.
yeah. Well, we also used to, and the thing is, I think we kind of traded. You see this when we're talking about toys and stuff like that. This concept that if I have this 10 point, these 10 things that's my viewpoint, and if you don't agree with every single item, then you can't be my friend. Now we may agree on 9 things or 8 things,
I'm
but
gonna
if you
throw
don't agree on those
all of
other
that
two,
away.
then
I'm
it's
gonna
total
throw it all
war.
away. Yep, because we don't agree on that one thing. I'm gonna
And
throw it all away.
I remember that was kind of how I was brought up. That that you find the things you can agree on, and knowing that there's some things you're not going to agree on, and we could argue about those things all day. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, where do you want to go grab dinner? Do you want to go get a drink somewhere? Is that we're friends about it, even though there's
It's
things we
not
didn't
like
agree
that
on. But
anymore. Yeah.
it just seems like that's the problem, and especially when I see people get that way about pieces of soulless plastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of you know, it's kind of sad. So
I think people expect perfection nowadays, especially
yeah,
with being able to go online and you see we have access. And when I say access, I just mean what we visually can see.
yeah,
I can see more attractive women right now when I open up my phone than
mm,
my grandparents and they've ever seen during their lifetime. So I think that comes with a level of expectation of perfection, and that also spills into my relationships and my friendships and my brotherhoods, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
exactly what you said. Maybe I don't agree with you on one thing, but because I expect perfection, I will let that one thing dismantle the nine other areas we have
Yeah.
completely in common because it's not perfect.
Yeah. Even though we know we're not perfect, you know, it's kind of, why do we hold people to a standard higher than we,
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? That's why I told you I had a, problem with that I can't remember where this came up, but I told somebody was comparing me to somebody else doing something that, well, why can they do that and you're not doing this? And I told them, so I don't spend my time comparing myself to other people because I didn't have the same life they had, or I don't know what's driving them. I said the only person I'm in competition with is myself. So the
Mm-hmm.
only thing I ask myself every day is, did I do better today than I did yesterday?
Right.
Did I, you know, did I did I put my best effort in on whatever I was doing, 100%. And if I came up short, then I came up short. That's going to happen. You can't be a master of everything.
Right.
Um, but people get in this I call it the comparison trap.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't compare two people, but you can compare me to me.
Right.
And then I was very fortunate sometimes to have people that watched me and knew me and
Mm-hmm.
could come up to me and say, you're not putting your best effort into this,
Right.
or we know you can do better than this. And I would have to go, yeah, you're right. I thought I could slack off on being me today.
They
Yeah,
held you accountable, right? They held you
yeah,
accountable because they had a standard for
yeah,
you that they knew that you wasn't meeting, and that's awesome. But it's so rare nowadays to come across that stuff, or you'll have guys. What did J Max say? The only one you have to be good with is the man in the mirror.
yeah,
Right. I think it starts there, and I think it if it expands outside of that. So of course you got to be good with yourself before you're good with anybody else. But if you can find, like I said, even if it's just a handful, it doesn't matter. One, two, three is fine, because we all have lives. So we all, But if you
yeah,
could find just a handful of guys and you actually do trust their opinion, you trust what you value what they say, and that takes trust because you have to feel like they're not personally attacking you.
yeah,
That in itself right there, some people can't take no criticism at all, because any form of criticism they just process as a personal attack,
yeah,
and now things get personal. Things, lines get blurred. But it's tough for guys to have that handful of friends, or that circle, that community that they can actually go to, and it won't be an echo chamber.
yeah.
There's so many echo chambers nowadays.
Well, it took me a while to learn too the about that. If somebody like has something to say about my performance or something like that, to really not take it personal,
Mm-hmm.
because I began to realize that a lot of my reactions to things didn't have anything to do with them. It was stuff that was inside me. One of the best
Yeah.
examples was a guy doing a marriage class, and he had two cups with one with blue beads and one with pink beads. And he says the beads are all the things you bring into the relationship with you. This is these are your daddy issues, your financial issues, everything. And
So
said, but sometimes when you're in a relationship, at one point the cups do this, and he smacks them together, and the beads go flying out. And so what we do is, instead of going, "Oh, look what came out of me," we look at the other person and go, "Why did you make that come out of me? Why why did and so that that's why I kind of see, that's why I think people get in this thing of with brands, is they begin to substitute brands for their identity,
mm-hmm.
and so they don't have to think about their issues and their flaws. So when you start picking, showing the flaws in something they like, then they take it as a personal attack on them because they like that. They're so wrapped up in it. That's on a personal attack on them as well.
So J Mac said an interesting comment, right? He said, no, it's just hard to trust people because they're greedy, backstabbing parasites most of the time. There's a few good ones, and
Yeah,
that's the tough thing, because I'm always saying life is short. But with that being said, how many people do you need to meet? And I have a
yeah,
number in my mind, but how many people do you need to filter through to find one of those good ones?
yeah,
We don't have the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
so yeah, on the outside in, I would say, I got to meet 100 guys. I got to have a conversation with 100 different men to just find five that I actually think are good
yeah,
guys, or that I can vouch for. That that won't stab you in the back. And it sucks that that's the quality of people that's out there nowadays, that the ration is so bad where it's 50 for every 50 or 100 guys. You're lucky if you find a handful. That sucks that the number, I feel like the quality of men and women nowadays, just humans in general,
Yeah.
I feel like it's much worse than what it used to be.
Yeah. Also, I did a quick search. So it was that number is called Dunbar's number.
Okay.
And it's a suggested cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can maintain a stable social relationship. So it's basically our brains can only sustain some sort of relationship socially with, and he used the number 150 was the max. That's like, friends of a friend, people that you have on Facebook. I get the point. I don't do a lot of friending on Facebook. I let people friend me. But every once in a while, I'll look at something like, I don't know who that is. Why is there on my? Why are they, I'll delete it off. It's
Right.
like,
Right. You might as
I
well.
can't carry that.
Yeah.
But life is stressful in general. That we don't need, you more of it. And but also too, I think we need to start becoming. So I told you what I do for a living one time, and that's I do a uh in the state of Florida we have a veteran suicide prevention program.
Right.
And so I'm the regional director for North Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I do is I teach this thing. It's basically reach out to veterans, but it works on everybody. It's just the resource side of it's a little bit different.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we got to start. We tend to there's this kind of thing where we don't really want to involve ourselves in other people's lives, even when we see there's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the biggest things, like, we tell people it's like when you see the signs, then there's some questions you need to ask, and that's where people hesitate because they go, well, what if I'm just misinterpreting the signs, or I get it wrong, or I'm embarrassed, that I thought this person may be going to harm themselves, and it turns out they're not, and it's like, well, I think it's better to be embarrassed than attend their funeral, because type of deal. And I think that people, if you do it in the right way, people will genuinely respond, to you, that you're doing this because I care about you, even if I'm a complete stranger, the kindness of a stranger type of deal, to do that. So I'm going through my list here. I think we covered all the topics. I know we got about 15 minutes left. And again, thank you so much for being on there. And I thank everybody in the chat
Thank
for
you for
being
having
here.
me on, man. And thank you for being a channel member, always supporting.
Yeah.
I'm glad that my Wi-Fi has not cut out because the weather sucks right now.
Yeah. Well, I called Jesus earlier, and
okay.
And cut an arrangement. So I got to go sacrifice one of my children after this, though.
Right, so, you're gonna have to, because that's the way it works. That's the way it works in the stories.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's no, but I got to have to cut out too. So, so I mean, to me, this is very enjoyable. Like I said, this is why I told you in the background that, and for anybody else that wants to come on, because I'm still working on getting guests for the next show. I got like a list of people I want. I got my big dog people. I want Bobby Val on one day. I want Tony on one day. Probably in a year or so, I'll feel confident enough to reach out to Michael French and get him on. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, it's about having a conversation with folks I really wanted to get to know better beyond just their videos and their in our interactions in the chat, which that's why I started with Chad, because we're both veterans, so we had some common ground there, and we both grew up on G.I. Joe, and then Laser Pants because he's just such a character. That's
He should have been a DJ, man. Everything made sense in the universe when he said he used to DJ. Like, everything made sense. He would have been such a great DJ. He could have been the greatest of all time.
Yeah, he does a good job as a host. And so he just needs a so that's good too. And then you were definitely on the top of my list, and so I thank you for I know we were supposed to do this last week, and there's a scheduling conflict, and
that was on me. So let me apologize for that again, because I never thought something like that would happen. I did not realize. And he hit me up either right before you or right around. It was an issue on my end. So I'm sorry for that, man. I completely apologize for that.
Well, and I told you, like I said, that there's no need, because, like I said, that's just a sign of your success. And that's the thing is is I root for other people's success. That's something we don't do in this society a lot too. We root for
Hmm.
their failure, right? Because to me, I know where I'm in. I know where I'm at in the hierarchy of things, and so to me, that was just more proof that I really wanted you on because the tide's rising, and I'll all ships rise with it, and also the barnacles that cling on to these ships rise.
Yeah, that's a good way to word it. Yeah.
With it. So like that's cool. I'll just push it back. If I get it to push back a week, then that's fine. But I think it's also people again. It's I think one of the things that people resonate and respond to with is your genuineness, which why people on those occasions where people take their swipe at you for whatever, and I think they do it for clout is the only reason,
Most likely,
or
yeah.
jealousy. Because but they should know by now, not because you come with the receipts,
Hmm.
and you live up to that ninja name where you slice is precision slices. Yeah,
I tried, man. I wish it didn't happen. And there's so many times I could have probably pressed the matter more, but I just let it go because I don't want my channel to be known for that, man.
yeah.
But at the same time, you can't always stay quiet. So it's always that rock in a hard place, you know?
Well, and part of the problem is too, that with the internet culture, it's
Hmm.
we have these chemicals in our brain, and two of the easiest ones for our brain to manufacture is dopamine, and that's the feel good chemical, and that's what when people take actual drugs, that's what they're kicking in, and
Hmm.
it's cortisol, which is the fight, and
Okay.
the anger. That's the anger one. And so those are the two. That's why people get addicted to the like button and positive comments and how many views I have today. These guys are
Mm.
refreshing YouTube Studio every half hour,
Yeah.
because they want that dopamine hit,
Hmm.
and they don't care how they get it. But the other one is the is that that fight response they get from starting beefs
Yeah.
on the internet, and it's just in their people egging them on just pumps it up. But the thing is, those two things are very they because they're so addictive. You need more and more for it to have
Right.
that impact,
Right.
and plus it just burns you out. It hollows you out. So I don't see
100%.
for those people that take that track where they want to have beefs with everybody, then it does it. They get the boost. It boosts their signal, but then you see how fast they flame out
Yep.
um, with it. So that's why like uh, I think that's why when we talk about trying to find time to do the broadcast that we got. I think because right now for the folks we deal with, like I said, I see same familiar faces in the chat and
Yep.
on the channels and stuff like that. I think there's a group of us out there that are fighting the good fight,
Yep.
and people are resonating with it. So I've kind of seen the crowded space as a good thing. Otherwise, I'll go, well, I'll just wait till some people start falling off. And then
Right.
people they'll burn out on it, there's more room. But I think so far we've all been able to share this space and overlap, and nobody, I don't have as a Canon going, why are you coming on out of my time? And then
Yeah.
you're jerking them, and then like last went on they were like, were they supposed to be doing a show, and you were kind of, but they were stuck on your show and they wouldn't get off.
Hmm.
You're just going to do
Hmm.
theyrs. I
Yeah.
thought that was
Yeah.
great that they're sacrificing. So I like that's what we're kind of building. I hope that we keep it up and having conversations like this again. I feel like I got to know you a little bit better with that, and you're more than just the guy in the mask. Uh,
Appreciate that, man.
now a
Thank you.
little bit, and and I just I thank everybody for being here tonight. So do you have anything? We can end this early. And I'm kind of tired, and I know you just got off work, and so I don't mind ending it a few minutes early if you want to. But do you have anything you want to add, or anything coming
Um,
up, or anything we need to know?
So the a members live, we're gonna do the members live tomorrow at 9 p.m. So
Okay.
technically, we'll break a record, and that will be 3 days straight live that I will be going. So we had yesterday, I was live with Gaines and Jerk. Today
Okay.
I'm live with you, and then tomorrow we'll have the Ninja Clan members live. So tomorrow at 9 p.m. Anybody that's in the chat that's available, that's free. We're gonna do that at 9. The weather is really shitty right now. I was thinking about doing it today, but I didn't know how long we would run on. And to start a
Yeah.
live, to start a live at around 11 p.m., that means you're probably not getting off until 2 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to start it that late. So tomorrow, 9 p.m. And I
Okay.
just wanted to take the time to say thank you to you because it's not like you wanted to have me on just to have some one-to-one conversations. And I know that you were saying in the beginning of the show, like, you don't have the bells and the whistles set up and
Yeah,
everything up, but I think that that's a good thing because it does
yeah,
make it more of a one-to-one personal conversation. It's not so much worried about all the bells and the whistles and the
yeah.
entertainment side. It's more worried about the quality side.
Well, I'm going to say that for
And I like
season
that.
two. Uh, that's when I'll have the. I heard Seth Meyers just fired his band from the Late Show, so I'll reach out to them,
You're
see
gonna
if they'll
get them.
play
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
Well,
I'll be looking forward to season 2 then. But
yeah,
as it is right now, I do like I like it, man. I know
yeah.
for you to put humble host, I think that's an understatement because I know it's just you trying to be humble and shit. But I don't think so, man. I like the way that it is. I
Yeah.
like that it's just straight to the point. I like that it's just more of just an intimate back and forth with your guest, man. I like that.
Well, I'm just happy that people show up. I will talk to an empty room. I don't like to do it, but I can do it.
We
So
all talk a lot. It just depends on if we're talking about a subject we're passionate about. We can
yeah,
all talk a lot, man. So J Mac said, if anybody in this community
yeah.
ever feels like they need an ear or a shoulder, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will be that for you.
Well, I tell you, so I see J Mac a lot, and shout out to Abby from Figure Fight Club for doing his open mic night, and I'll probably be doing that tomorrow night if there's room
Okay.
to do that because that takes a lot to have your show and basically turn it over to 10 random idiots that you don't know what they're going to say and do. They come in
That
the
could
room.
be bad. Yeah.
But I've gotten through that, started to know like J Mac and and a few others, Maximilian and Tlee 1980 and a few of those guys and Just Jeff and so I'm enjoying doing that. That's great because like I said, me just coming up with content for one show a month is exhausting. Yeah, I can't imagine these guys
Yeah, imagine doing
do
it
it
2 times a
every
week. And like
single
the way
week.
somebody, the way
Oh,
Figure Fight
and
Club, the way Abby stays consistent. Same with Jerk.
yeah,
It's just like I look at it and I get tired for them. What time is
yeah.
the Figure Fight Club open mic tomorrow?
Um,
He's in the chat.
yeah.
So
You
Abby,
said
let us know
well,
what
throw it
time.
up. Yeah, throw it up in the chat, and I'll put it up here because I can't remember. I just got to remember when it like flashes up in the notifications
Yeah.
on there.
And so he said 8 p.m. Okay, good.
Yeah, 8
So
p.m.
then because that's the thing, and we touched on that right before the live started. I know we're wrapping up and stuff. I'm
Yeah,
like, it's like every day, someone that you care about is going live, and you don't want to step on their toes. You don't want to
yeah,
interrupt what they're doing. It's just like, so I'm like, okay, cool. So then I'll do my members around 9:30 or 10. We'll either do 9:30 or 10.
yeah.
This way, I'll make sure that he has more than enough time. I just hate interfering, and Abi is one of the what you were talking about with the amount of people where you have five and then you have five. I'm like, man, Abby's in the top 10. So it just makes me feel some type of way if I was to ever
Yeah.
step on his toes or do anything like that. So yeah, so I'll have we'll go live around 9:30 or 10. I'll post up tomorrow exactly
Okay.
what time it'll be.
Yeah, and I said, good on you, man. Like I said, that's hard doing it. You're trying to get it 3 days in a row of stuff, and it's hard. And I know, especially in the toy sphere, there's only so much news out there,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody is buying the same stuff, to add to their collection, and it's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of that's why I wanted to make mine just a little bit different. And
And I
another
like that,
guys
man.
is I like the guys from Figure It Out because I
Mm-hmm.
think their format is really good. That it keeps it fresh, and they talk about toys, but the topic rotates.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm trying to get Mikey, his dad. I want to do a live stream with just his dad because we're around the same age, and we have obviously his boy is in the hobby, and my kids are in the hobby too. So
Right.
what's it like raising geeks, purposefully, so it's
Purposely.
yeah, so it's a
That's a good way to word it. I like
yeah,
that. I
so
like
it's
that,
a
man.
yeah, so let him shine a little bit, but so I can't thank you enough for I keep saying repeating and I feel weird just repeating
No.
thank you, but it just I that's just how I can only express my gratitude because like I said it's for again if it wasn't for guests and you wouldn't have a show
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like I said to me this is a way that I could like really learn get to talk to people I really so just watch them all the time get to know them a little bit better
Right.
and
Right.
we probably always scratch the surface of that which is articulated ninja. Uh, but that's good. That leaves more for another time in season
Yep.
two,
Yep.
maybe. So it's That's kind of my
But
goal. Is probably in December I'll do a recap of all my guests
mhm.
that I've had this year, and then I'll pay the extra money for StreamYard, the upgrade, and do a little bit more professional and cover up. I kind of get embarrassed by this mess behind me because I see yours is
It's
all
not
set
we
up
don't
and everybody else set up. But to me, I think this is the way a real collector's room looks like.
to
It's,
me
it
where,
looks
where I
like
stand, like even seeing it where I can see it from, a lot of it looks
yeah,
organized to me. Like what you have in the shelves, clearly it's
yeah.
all organized. I mean, at this point, what are you
That's
gonna do?
all.
Make it color coded? Like you're gonna color organize it?
Well, what it is those are those little pencil boxes from the Dollar Tree.
Okay.
So you got what colors you could get,
Hmm.
and then I just ordered some more boxes. So they sent me all the boxes had black and white totes in it. And this is all that's in these pencil boxes are Marvel Legends.
Okay.
And it's the ones I can fit in the boxes, my larger ones, the build a fig, stuff like that. Right. So I'm trying to get all those organized. I'll take them and I'll put I'll put them in there and I put a little label on each one so I know which one it is. And then I'm going to go back through them and I'm going to thin them out. And I'm going to try doing a
But
whatnot.
right.
You
So
know,
first you called it a mess, and now you're talking about like how
yeah,
much you organize. But that proves the point that our mess will always be our mess, but to
yeah.
someone else it'll be neat compared to what they got.
I tell people I have
Mm,
OCD and ADD.
mhm.
So my problem is that they flare up at the same time sometimes. I
So
get
they battle
nothing.
each other.
I get nothing done in a spectacularly organized fashion.
That's
So
that's awesome.
I tell
That is
people
awesome.
I tell people I used to have ADHD, but I got too old and fat for the hyperactivity part of it. So now it's
Okay,
just ADD. So it's
that's
with that.
funny,
So
man.
but then it's like I've got like a the Star Wars. I'm trying to sort through that, and then I got all those TIE strikers, that box on the floor that just got those missiles for and stuff like that. So I'm slowly. We just moved in this house a few years ago, and we're slowly getting rooms the way because it's been a while since we had a house that we owned and
Okay,
one this big too.
that's awesome too. Congratulations on
So that
that.
was one of the things I wanted to have is like, can I at least have one room where it's my stuff and I'll keep it all confined to that one room. So
Right.
that's what we. So I got half the room is mine. So it used to be a porch that somebody had walled in and turned into
Okay.
it like a bonus room.
Okay.
So
No, that's
then
pretty cool.
then I
But
got my kids. The kids have their stuff in their rooms and so it's all good. So
I had a good time, man. Like I said, I like that it's more of an intimate setting, just us
yeah,
talking back and forth about life. I enjoyed it, man. Thank you.
yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming on, being here. On maybe next time, I know that your support crew, you know, they like to come on sometime, and maybe next time we
Hmm.
do this, we'll bring them all on too. And
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I like how they participate in the in everything, and when you do your live chats and stuff like
They do.
that.
They
But
save my ass. They save my ass all
yeah,
the time. So
yeah.
yeah,
So
just
well, it's just good to have somebody like I said. I'm the I'm still trying to get a hang of monitoring the chat too,
hmm.
and I can see how
Yeah.
having somebody to do that for you is good. And who's the one that does it normally? That does it most
No,
of the time?
normally it's Erica, and then
So
Jasmine to be sitting right next to her. So anything that she
yeah,
misses, Jasmine to pick up, and
yeah,
it's just
and they do a good
nuts.
job of picking the gems from from the
Yeah, to
dirt.
like pull up on screen, and even like yeah, while I'm talking or whatever, they do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course you have the super chats. It's kind of a two-edged sword. You know, gee, that
It
you
is.
that you want to elevate yourself in the chat and do a super chat, but then it kind of obligates you to read it. So,
Right. Right.
but I'm nowhere near that because I even once it's about what is it views and subs. That's the what drives that I think.
Hmm.
So I'm way far away from that, but then you have like monsters like Abby that do. But that's saying one of his. I think people just gravitate towards his genuine kindness
Yeah, that's a
that he
hundred
has,
percent
and
what it is.
that's what did that. So,
That is 100% what it is.
yeah, 1,000
Yep.
subs in 2,000 hours. Yeah,
Yeah, I had a talk with him. I had a talk with him not too long ago, and I was explaining to him like he's such a nice guy. It's like anybody that signs themselves up to have a problem with him, they're gonna have a problem with more than just him, probably.
oh yeah,
They're gonna have a
I've
problem. But
seen,
that's what you was bringing up earlier about, when those people do decide to take a swipe, it's like you gotta understand, like, everyone's tied to someone. That's life.
yeah. Well, and also too, a lot of these guys, tend to have the same people have the wrench
Mm-hmm.
and all these different because they prove because some of these guys are that's their niche is being a moderator and they wield that wrench if justly, but they're not afraid to use it too. So they kind of
Right.
keep it
Right.
all
That's
so they
Scott
keep it
right
all
off the gut.
modded. Scott
Yeah,
Hughes and
Scott Hughes. Oh my
Canon
God, he's a
and
monster. He's a monster.
a lot of these guys. So so shout outs to them
Mm-hmm.
when they do that because there's a lot. It takes a lot to run. Um, so a lot of people think they can talk to 2 hours straight, and there's a lot of planning that goes. I had like a list of notes on the side over here
Right. Right.
of
It
what I wanted to
helps.
talk about. So,
Yep.
and then you also got to be ready to just kind of go with the flow to where the conversation takes you as
Yep.
well. So,
Yep.
well, it's 10:30. Um, any last words, and then I'll close this out.
My last words is, man, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed like I said, the talk, and we will definitely be doing something like this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you for coming on. I thank everybody in the
Mm-hmm.
chat. I guess everybody's now going to head over to Yojo Jerk and Toy Games. I think are they doing something right now or
I think maybe they're still on. I know they were on right before this.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, it'll be good. Everybody go over there and boost their numbers because I know I probably drained a good portion of their audience away. To,
we all hang out with the same guys. We're
they're
all
probably
we're all in the same
oh
group.
just yesterday they ended. They probably realized they couldn't compete with what's going on here, but. So I'm
Oh
very
man.
happy to give an unknown talent such as yourself, Articulate Ninja, a boost of
You
the
got a
signal.
lot of nice people in the chat too. I see William right at the bottom, man. William B.
Okay.
Shout out to him.
So again, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. All the YouTube things. I've got I just got put a video up yesterday about the missile upgrade for the TIE Striker.
Okay.
I've got again, I'm working on that Skyhawk project. I'm trying to get part one of that done. I'm going to go over my attempt at customizing an X-wing. I did. I want these guys to have a lot of projects on my table, and I got a lot of ideas. But then when it comes to execute them, I kind of just I'm afraid to do it, especially if it involves cutting something up. So and painting it. But I have this X-wing I did as a restoration customization type deal. So I've got a few things that are coming up on to keep that that algorithm fed and you guys happy for entertainment. And then stay tuned. Like I said, I'm still working on nailing down my guest for April. It'll be at the end of the month. And with that, peace.